tell something from the customer's perspective, and this comes all the way to a more practical level, from all the way from Dell's presentation through Tuborg to me. But I'm trying to describe why we basically started up with this thing and why we think it fits so well into our sort of the big picture of how we want to develop our airport. Finavia in Finland, it's like you have Swedavia, you know what it is, so that's it. Why is it so much of interest to us, and what is basically the business context, and something also about the long-term vision for the solution? I already mentioned self-services, and actually this is a very natural extension to something called self-services. I look at your people here. I suppose there is nobody here who has never used any sort of self-service at an airport. So we are talking about self-service bag drops. We are talking about self-service check-in, online check-in, scanning your boarding pass at different self-service stations, at the boarding, at the security control. You look like a bunch that's very familiar with the solutions. So it's a good start. I want to tell a little bit why airports actually build these self-services in the first place. And as said, well, this is what we always start from. It's about the customer experience. And I mentioned that we have some customer experience objectives that we want to develop according to. And this gift of time confidence, not going any deeper, but these are two of the 4 key elements that we see in the preferable passenger experience at all the Finnish airports that Finavia is operating. So it has to start from the customer experience, and I think there is a reputation for self-service solutions that it's really just about saving money for the already rich airline or already rich airport. It's just showing the poor customers their place and to show that they are really cattle that we just need to process efficiently and ruthlessly through the airport. That's not the point. We are actually aiming at a better customer experience. I will try to justify this a little bit. Also, we aim at the performance, or actually this is very much part of the customer experience. We aim at the performance and speed of passenger processing. Now, processing, Daryl mentioned about things that are not cool. Processing is something that is not cool. So if we think that processing people is an inevitable part of giving good service at an airport, it's really not. We like to take as much time away from processing of people or baggage or whatever as possible, so that the time saved could be saved for some more motivating purposes. Yeah, sometimes shopping, but just enjoying yourself, enjoying the sort of good old-fashioned glam of traveling or something. So it's very important by itself that we take the time of the processes and make processes as speedy as possible. Service personalization, I put personalization in these because, it's not really personalization if you can choose between a self-service alternative and a non-self-service alternative. But actually, you probably all know people who would never use a self-service terminal because it's just scary or they are not able to do that. I force my parents to do that every time, so that I see what actually happens to people when they are really forced to do something against their will and against sort of their competence. And they always survive the processes of bag tag printing and self-service bag dropping and so on. They do survive it. But clearly I see that these are the people for whom we want to actually save the resources, the human resources, to whom they can actually talk and who feel compassionate about their pain of traveling and so on. Whereas I would never want to be behind my parents in the queue to the manned service desk. I prefer to go to the self-service desk because that's what gives me the confidence in that I can get through quickly. I know what I'm doing. And I hate when people are, asking the way to the nearest bathroom, which is obviously right there. But, then it takes 2 minutes to draw the map and so on. So it's a personalization in the way that you can actually choose which route you want to take. Better for the airport, better predictability and understanding of passenger behavior. So we are talking about just simply understanding when people arrive to the airport, for instance. So for a typical flight or for a certain flight in a typical Monday afternoon, when do people usually arrive in order to make their flight? So that we can, when we combine then all the flights on top of each other, then we understand that how much resources we should have at each process point, at the passport control, in the security control, how many customer service agents we need to have, how many guards we need to have, whatever. So it's actually very important in understanding how passengers in large volumes behave. Yeah, the cost efficiency is there, but it's by far it's far from being the driver. You could say it's by far not the most important thing. But there is cost efficiency. We want to be able to use the space and the human resource that there is at the airport as efficiently as possible. But the main reason is that I have from processing to helping here. We really want the people to stop processing people because I said that's not cool. And we want the humans to start helping people in case they need the help, but not necessarily, if they just process people, that's time not so well spent. What brings us a little bit closer to face recognition as a solution is that, isn't it the ultimate self-service solution? You have to do nothing. I mean, that's really easy. That's really, low threshold, even for my parents. If there is no UI, there is nothing you have to do apart from the first registration procedure with which somebody can help you. If there's nothing you can do, then there is nothing you can do wrong. Things just happen around you automatically, and you are just left happy. So the ultimate self-service solution, and of course, we still want to get all the other benefits. So we want to get the intelligence, the understanding of the passenger behavior. We definitely get the speed of passenger, really, really fast passenger processing through self-service solutions. So these are generally, why airports build self-services and why airports such as us are very interested in the face recognition kind of solutions as well. Does technology in traveling make us really that sad? This is a study. Yeah, it's made by a very well-known aviation technology provider, SITA. So you might, but it's a study nonetheless. I think it was pretty transparent, so we can believe it. In short, the result is that the people that used technology, the technology route at different points of their passenger journey, they tend to be happier than the people who didn't use the technology. So, all the pain and the fuss and the queuing, they still, the people who get the human service, they still have to go through all that. So I suppose that might be the reason why the tech users are typically more satisfied. So it can't be that evil. All that evil. If you want to look at that from the other perspective, this is an article written by the Daily Telegraph back in 2014 when Finavia at Helsinki Airport launched a solution which it's a Wi-Fi analytics-based solution. So anonymously, it spots, identifies Wi-Fi signals from passengers' phones, and then it lets us basically understand where the passenger masses are at a certain time. Anonymous on a non-personal level, so the smallest granularity that we got down to was 5 people, and below that we didn't even see. Well, these guys invented fake news before Donald was anywhere close, because there was almost nothing right in that article, and the Big Brother airport reputation, it sticks, and we don't really like that. Yeah, that's true, but it's like going to the bar, and you give your 70 kronor or whatever to the bartender, and then you get the beer, and then you complain, I lost my 70 kronor. I lost it completely. And you forget that you also got the beer back, Of course, there might be a cost. In this case, it might be the risk or the fear that you will lose your identity and, somebody steals it and just you are in every way somehow molested. But the risk is fairly small, especially in this case. The learning and observations from the pilot. There were 3 things that we were very interested in when going into this pilot that Tu briefly described. We wanted to see how passengers would react to this, because it's something new. Obviously, it's something new to the passengers. Even more importantly, we want to see how the employees react, because some of them might have fears that, okay, will this impact my work, the actual existence of my work in the future, but I don't think they were that scared of that, but how I have to do my work in the future, and do I have to get acquainted with the systems that I don't really understand. So it was really important to understand how the employees felt, and if the technology is in a level where we can basically start developing it on to a more commercial solution. The passenger feedback. There was a big bunch of people participating, but we interviewed some 38 passengers, I suppose. There were deeper interviews with the passengers. And the overall experience and the ease of use of the solutions that you can also test if you want there. It's a very similar solution that's demoed here today. Those grades were really high. Not worried about privacy. I take that as a good number. 4.1 out of 5, that's a good number because it was something completely new and surprising to the passengers. And of course, it's not a commercial grade solution quite yet, so they just had to trust us. The big thing was that not a single one of the 38 people said that, no, I would not join this solution if it became a commercial one. Not a single one said no. 7 said maybe, if it's easy enough to use. 31 said, yeah, absolutely. That's a big thing. Even more importantly, as said, the response from the employees was very positive as well. So they were actually quite eager. They were enthusiastic of being able to participate in something cool like this, because people, it's new, it's cool. There are some robust technologies available. We saw that, but yeah, definitely we have to work more in order to be on the production level. But that was sort of what we wanted to find out, if the technologies are robust enough to give us a sound basis to develop further. And if we think about the further development, there's a little green box there. That's a check-in and backdrop as part of the total passenger chain, or the passenger's journey, as we call it. We only tested the solution so far in a very limited environment in order to find out the things that we just described. So I mean, it served its purpose. But quite easily, you can imagine that there is a good number of other process points in which we actually have to establish and introduce this sort of a self-service solution, self-service type of a solution in the form of face recognition, in order to really make it in order for it to really make the difference. So yeah, there are a number of process points, but if and when at some stage we have all these process points covered, then it's a really, really fast, really convenient zero UI solution. So we are pretty enthusiastic about the future in this sense. The long-term goals, in very brief, yes, we want to have all the process points covered, but also we want to have all the major stakeholders covered, such as the border guard, for instance, which is not an easy. They are not an easy nut to crack, but they are very positive about this as well. And yeah, that's a good example of a stakeholder to which you really have to go to them and start benefits first, and not about the risks. And they see the benefits in Finland. We are in a happy situation in that way. Absolutely shorter process times, better predictability for all stakeholders and customers, and for the passengers, much more time to enjoy themselves. This is how the shorter process times, that equals longer dwell times or longer free times for them. So they are free to spend that time anywhere, anyhow they want, even without being at the airport. More tailored, more personalized travel experience. So yes, you can control for yourself how far you want to go and what you want to tell about yourself, and how far you basically want the service provider to go in tailoring the services for you. But that's definitely doable. Improved security. This is a good discussion area. But it's a longish discussion, but I'm happy to take questions about this later, because there are many sort of gray areas in aviation today in which we can actually bring a lot of improvement through the face recognition kind of solutions. And yeah, maybe at some stage in the very long run, some other transportation modes. Thanks.